Good to have you with us on this Friday. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you very much for starting your day with us. We are going to begin this hour in Minneapolis, where the Trump administration is threatening action to end the protests over its immigration crackdown.
President Trump said he would invoke the Insurrection Act and deploy the U.S. military if officials in Minnesota don't act to end the violent clashes between federal agents and protesters there. In response, Minnesota leaders say ICE needs to leave. Now, the Insurrection Act is rarely used. It allows the president to use the military domestically. The specter of that is dividing lawmakers along party lines, with several expected to visit Minneapolis later today. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster is there with the latest. Shaq, good morning.
Good morning. Well, we continue to feel and experience those tense moments here in the Minneapolis area at that federal facility in St. Paul. We were there when there were more arrests being conducted, protesters clashing with federal agents. A federal official telling NBC News there are now roughly 3,000 federal immigration agents on the ground in the Minneapolis area conducting those immigration arrests. For some context, that's about 5 times the size of the Minneapolis Police Department. And that's why you're hearing city and state leaders describe this federal surge in resources as an occupation, even as they call for calm. And President Trump, amid the protests, amid the shooting that we saw conducted by an ICE agent earlier this week, threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act if, in his words, city and state leaders don't step in to stop those protests. But talking with protesters, talking with folks here on the ground, they don't like what they're seeing. They're not being moved by those threats. They say they will continue to come out here in support of their community, in their words, and against what they describe as that federal occupation. But those threats to use the Insurrection Act, getting support on Capitol Hill, top Republicans backing the call, saying that the situation in Minneapolis is unsustainable, but Democrats pushing back hard, saying that this is another overreach by the federal government. So it's another day where we're watching, seeing those increased arrests and seeing those clashes in Minneapolis communities.
All right, Shaq, thank you.
All right, so there's a lot of news coming out of the White House this morning. In addition to that right there, President Trump threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act in response to those protests in Minneapolis. We're also getting a first look at the framework of the president's long-awaited health care proposal.
Global affairs are also keeping the president busy. Mr. Trump held a meeting with Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, at the White House yesterday. Questions are looming around that country's political future.
For more on all of this, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin. Julie, good morning. Always great to see you. So let's start with the Insurrection Act. Here's what the president said. He said, corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking ICE agents. Also, according to the New York Times, no federal charges like assaulting an officer, for example, have been filed against anyone in the state in connection with these protests over the past week. What's the legal criteria here that would allow the president to use this 19th century law to deploy the U.S. military in an American city and without approval from Congress?
Yeah, well, in the president's mind, as you heard Caroline Leavitt say there, this is a tool they feel like they have at their disposal, and they can enforce it and they can essentially enact it if they feel like the cities themselves are not doing a good enough job of keeping violence off their streets, of keeping any kind of violent protesters who are maybe threatening law enforcement, if they're not doing a good job of keeping that violence at bay. But as we've been covering, and as you heard from Shaq, local officials in Minnesota and in other places where the president has threatened this over his first year of his second term, they have said they got this under control. And I talked to many Republicans in Congress who are trying to keep the president essentially from doing this, saying it's not necessary. Lisa Murkowski, for example, flashed back to the George Floyd protests, the unrest that happened after that, saying that if the president, if this administration would deploy even more troops to that area, even more than he's already doing, then it would just create absolute chaos. This law was last updated in 1874. It's been rarely used through history. The last time that it was considered being used was back in 2020, to quash those protests. So this is definitely something that Republicans don't want the administration to do, but something that he may do nonetheless.
Julie, let's switch gears here and talk about what the president is dubbing the Great Health Care Plan. He unveiled this proposal just as this open enrollment for the Affordable Care Act came to an end in most states. We know millions saw their premiums premiums skyrocket this year, forcing people to make some pretty tough decisions. How detailed is this proposal, and what's the president saying about how this could lead, in his mind, to lower costs for Americans?
Okay, well, let's remember off the bat that this will go absolutely nowhere unless Congress passes it and then it is signed into law. And I remember last month when the president teased unveiling this very proposal, it caught Republicans in Congress off guard, especially leadership in the House, who said, wait a minute, no way, we're not there yet in terms of the votes. And he has a very slim majority in Congress, though he, of course, can be persuasive. I want you to take a listen to what the president said, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
The government is going to pay the money directly to you. It goes to you, and then you take the money and buy your own health care. It'll bring down drug prices 80, 90%, in some cases, just numbers that nobody's ever heard of before. Your prescription drugs will come way, way down.
Okay, so he's talking about those health savings accounts. Essentially, what the president said he has wanted to do for the last several weeks, I would say, is give money directly to Americans, you heard him there, so that they could pay for their health care. There are plans circulating on Capitol Hill to do just that. They even tried to vote on some of them, and they went absolutely nowhere because Democrats say that that's great, but you have to bring first the cost of the Affordable Care Act down. You have to subsidize, again, those credits that expired at the end of last year. And Republicans that I spoke to, even some who want to extend those subsidies, say you have to do both at once. And right now, guys, there are no votes to do all of that in Congress. So it's a very tall hill for the president to climb.
Well, Julie, before we let you go, yesterday, Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, presented President Trump with her own Nobel Peace Prize. This is after the president had called her, our viewers might remember this, a very nice woman who lacked respect within her own country just a few weeks ago, as all this has unfolded in Venezuela. What do we think of this gesture? Is it some kind of political pressure tactic? Is it helping her secure support from the president?
Well, Maria Corina Machado, after she met with the president, went to Capitol Hill, and I was in that intense scrum outside of the Capitol where we were trying to ask her about this Nobel Peace Prize, and she presented a story, basically, saying that Simón Bolívar accepted or gave this kind of medal, and it stayed in American hands for years and years, and so she saw this as a symbolic gesture, and that is why she presented it to the president. Now, the official Nobel Peace Prize committee says this prize cannot be transferred. It cannot be given from one winner to somebody else as they choose. But this is definitely a symbolic nature, as Maria Corina Machado in some ways tries to persuade the president, maybe behind the scenes, to endorse her and to get his support behind her so that she can lead the people of Venezuela. It was her coalition that had so much popularity and won so many votes in 2024. It was a contested election, of course, as Maduro then ended up taking over anyway. And so this was something that was very important for Machado. She has long teased it. The president then posted that photo that you showed and said the meeting was great. He said it was a wonderful gesture of mutual respect. And by the way, when I asked Machado how that meeting went, she said it went very, very well before getting in her car. So we'll see what happens in terms of the president's support. But again, he started off on that first day of Maduro's capture saying he does not believe she has the support of the Venezuelan people. All
right, Julie Sirkin, thank you very much.
The streets in Iran are calmer this morning after weeks of deadly anti-government protests there. And President Trump is claiming credit, saying we saved a lot of lives. This after the regime signaled it would not move forward with executions of protesters. It also reopened its airspace yesterday.
But Iran is still bracing for possible military action from the Trump administration, which has threatened grave consequences if the regime's violence against protesters continued. In an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council, the U.S. ambassador to the UN had this to say about President Trump yesterday.
President Trump is a man of action, not endless talk like we see at the United Nations. He has made it clear all options are on the table to stop the slaughter. And no one should know that better than the leadership of the Iranian regime.
NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons joins us now with the latest on this. Keir, good morning. So just what do we know about the current situation on the ground in Iran? How has it changed from the violence that we've been seeing over the last few weeks?
Well, it's very, very tense. I mean, obviously, there is still an internet blackout, so it's very difficult for Iranians to get messages out. Some are using Starlink, but if you're caught with a Starlink, then you are in a lot of trouble. The messages that we're hearing are of tanks and armed security on the streets, particularly in Tehran, that there are bodies being collected by family members after, a killing spree, frankly, that now one human rights group counts as 2,600 or more, and there are other estimates that the death toll could be a lot greater than that. So, yes, the streets are calm after a brutal crackdown by the Iranian regime. I will say that, according to the Trump administration, 800 executions, and we talked about this yesterday, Joe, 800 executions have been paused, stopped. It's difficult to tell. President Trump puts that down to the threats that he's been making. But again, this region has been at boiling point, and it's pretty close to that still.
Keir, yesterday the U.S. imposed sanctions on several Iranian officials that accused of being behind this deadly crackdown on protesters. Who was targeted by these sanctions? And how do we think President Trump's pressure on Iran has impacted the situation there? Is there anything that we know for sure?
Yeah, it's fascinating. This is led by Scott Bessent's team, and these sanctions include, for example, someone called Ali Laranjani, who's the Secretary of the Supreme Council for National Security, and in quite a lengthy explanation for why they have sanctioned him and many others, the Trump administration says that he was leading the security crackdown, responsible for it. So it's about targeting individuals, the protesters would say, with blood on their hands. Is about targeting them with these sanctions. 18 individuals and entities, the Bessent team say, who play critical roles in laundering the proceeds of Iran's oil money are also being sanctioned. Oil is the main way that Iran gets its money, often selling it, for example, to China. And clearly there is a plan to target that sort of, fuel, that monetary fuel.
Keir, also earlier this week, the U.S. evacuated personnel from its largest airbase in that region amid these tensions. Now a U.S. official is telling NBC News the Department of Defense is actually preparing to send more forces and equipment. That includes a carrier strike group to the Middle East. What more are we learning?
Yeah, the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln is on its way from Asia to the Middle East. That will take around a week by our estimation. So that maybe it kind of pulls back the curtain a little bit on the fact that the Trump administration has not stepped away from military action, that it's putting its capabilities in place. Because remember that, Joe, and we've talked about this, not only does, if there is going to be action, not only does the Trump administration need to launch that action, but it then will need to protect its allies and partners in this region in order from Iranian reprisals. And Iran does have 3,000 estimated ballistic missiles. You mentioned the base in Doha, the Al Udeid base. That is one of the places that 40,000 U.S. servicemen and women are based across the Middle East. And plainly, what the U.S. would need to do is to protect them if it takes action.
All right. Keir Simmons, thank you so much.
Well, after a break early in the week for most of the country, that brutal winter weather is back. Yesterday, a dangerous snowstorm ripped across the northern stretch of the country, causing whiteout conditions and vehicle pileups on major highways. We're going to show you this road. This is in Indiana, where several cars got stuck in the snow and ice, forcing emergency rescues. Now, if you're not getting blasted by snow, officials warn you may be in store for a brutal deep freeze. Forecasters are predicting more heavy snow across the Great Lakes today and freezing temperatures as far south as Florida. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda has a closer look at this wintry mess.
A parade of snowstorms pounding northern parts of the country and turning travel treacherous. Near whiteout conditions in Indiana, making it difficult to navigate intersections and toll booths.
They said 12 inches. This looks like 2 feet to me.
Police in South Bend responding to hundreds of calls from drivers trapped in snow. A 30-vehicle pileup sent tractor-trailers careening off the road Wednesday. A similar tangled mess seen on I-90 in Pennsylvania, prompting a massive EMS response. You can see the aftermath of a head-on collision in a snowy Chicago suburb between a bus carrying 10 kids and a car. Police, who have not said what caused the crash, say the driver of the car died. Residents in Niles, Michigan,
I have never in my life seen this much snow.
Are are now digging out for more than 16 inches of snow, totally obscuring sidewalks and roads.
We haven't seen snow like this in a while. Visibility was not good. People were driving slow if they were out at all.
The winter wallop closed schools in Buffalo.
This is what you in for.
While in nearby Toronto, there was a ground stop as crews worked to clear the snowy airfield. Watch as this plane lands in blustery conditions at this New York airport. For the eastern third of the U.S., a bitter cold is now taking hold. Temperatures plunged more than 20 degrees in places like Chicago, Cleveland, and Nashville. In New York City, officials are urging people to limit time outdoors in this brutal blast of winter. Emily Ikeda, NBC News.
All right, let's bring in NBC meteorologist Angie Lassman.
Yeah, she's keeping a close eye on these bitter temperatures up and down much of the East Coast. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Yes, indeed. We've got the winter feel in place, and we've also got some winter alerts that are kind of hanging on here, and we're going to see these kind of expand as the days go on. Here's the deal. We've got 10 million people stretching across parts of the Midwest, as well as the Great Lakes and into parts of the interior Northeast that are gearing up for some additional snowfall. You can see already ongoing in some spots. Big batch of that snow stretching from Green Bay down to Chicago, across parts of Michigan. And this is kind of just setting the stage for what we'll deal with here as we get into our weekend. So here's the current state of what's happening. We've got these really strong winds kind of across the Great Lakes. That's just going to add insult to injury when it comes to the temperatures that you're feeling. It's going to feel much colder, of course, when you add those winds in. And then we'll also see kind of difficulty on the roadways with some of these snow squalls and icy roads across that region here, even as we get through the day today and into tomorrow in some spots. Speaking of tomorrow, here's what happens as we get through your Saturday. The start of your weekend, we'll see some of the snow across parts of the Northeast, and then it'll be mainly light accumulation anywhere from West Virginia to Maine. By the time Sunday rolls around, we've got kind of a bit of uncertainty with the track of this, so we could potentially see some snow for parts of coastal New England, or it could be just offshore. Notice the difference in those two models. Now, if this one verifies, this is on Sunday, 8 p.m., then we'll potentially be looking at more significant snow for the coastal areas. So something to watch here as we get into the next day or so. When we look at our snowfall forecast through the weekend, no surprise, downwind of the lakes, that's where the highest amounts are, up to 8 inches in some spots. And then big picture look, some of those New England amounts, we could see some significant spots of snow, just again, depending on how those models look over the next couple of days and then what actually happens. We could potentially have up to 4 inches in Boston, maybe a trace to up to 2 inches in New York City, and of course 8 to 12 inches for our friends in Grand Rapids. That is where we will see the most significant snow. And then there will be some pockets across parts of New England where we see those higher amounts in the higher elevations. And otherwise, temperatures will get your attention this morning, guys. We get out the door to just a 60-degree temperature in Tampa. That is chilly for folks down there, but even up to Washington, D.C., temperatures into the 30s. Tomorrow gets a whole lot worse across the Midwest with single digits in places like Fargo.
This morning feels like 6.
I know. I was bundled up. And yeah, there are a lot of places much colder than New York City right now. So.
Just yesterday, you could actually feel the temperature sinking. When you were standing outside, you're like, my human thermometer is going down.
Angie was right.
Yeah. Thanks, Angie.
Thank you. You got it.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.